All right, let's talk about malnutrition. Now, for anyone heading into medicine, this is so much more than just a chapter in a textbook. Think of this as a journey we're taking together, starting right at the bedside of a very sick child and zooming all the way out to the massive public health challenges an entire nation is grappling with.
So, here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at what this actually looks like in a patient. Then, we'll pull back to see the scale of the problem in India, this thing we call the double burden. After that, we'll dig into why it happens, get into the nitty-gritty of how you assess and manage it, and finally, wrap up with how we can prevent this on a huge scale.
We're going to start exactly where you will, with the patient. Before we get lost in statistics and big policies, you've got to know what severe malnutrition looks like when it's right in front of you.
So, you're going to see two classic but totally different ways this shows up. On the one hand, you've got marasmus. This is the image a lot of people have in their heads, that severe, obvious wasting away of muscle and fat. But then you have kwashiorkor, and this one can be tricky. The child might actually look puffy, almost chubby, because of all the fluid or edema from a severe lack of protein. And that's what makes it so dangerous, because that swelling can fool you, hiding the severe muscle wasting happening underneath.
Now, both of these are types of what we call protein energy malnutrition, or PEM. And it's almost never just about calories or just about protein. It's a really complex problem that gets tangled up with infections. In fact, it's a vicious cycle. The malnutrition makes the child more susceptible to disease, and the disease makes the malnutrition even worse.
Okay, let's zoom out from that one child in the clinic to the entire population. What's the bigger picture here in India? And let me tell you, it's a lot more complicated than you might think.
And this definition from the WHO is absolutely fundamental. Pay attention to those words, excesses and imbalances. Why? Because it tells us something crucial. Malnutrition is not just about hunger. It's a whole spectrum of nutritional problems.
And this table here, it lays that whole spectrum out for us. You've got undernutrition on one end, that's your wasting and stunting. Then on the complete opposite end, you have overnutrition, overweight, and obesity. And then there's this third category that cuts across everything. Micronutrient deficiencies, what we often call hidden hunger.
Okay, let's put some numbers to this. And wow, over a third of children under 5 in India are stunted. This isn't just about being short. Stunting is a sign of chronic, long-term malnutrition and causes damage that a child might never recover from, both physically and mentally.
And then you have this. Nearly 1 in 5 children suffers from wasting. This is acute malnutrition. It's a sign that something has gone wrong recently, a bad illness or not enough food. It's a medical emergency. These kids need help, and they need it now.
And this number, it just reveals the staggering scale of that hidden hunger we talked about. 2/3, 2 out of every 3 young children are anemic. This isn't a small thing. This literally holds back their brain development. It affects how they learn and ultimately what they can achieve in life.
So when you add all that up, what do you get? You get what we call the double burden of malnutrition. It's this crazy paradox, right? We are fighting stunting and wasting in one house, and at the same time, we're battling rising rates of obesity in the house right next door. Sometimes, it's even happening under the very same roof.
But why? Why is this happening? Well, the answer isn't as simple as people aren't eating enough. Malnutrition is this complex web of causes, and the WHO's conceptual framework really helps us untangle it.
You absolutely need to know this framework. At the surface, you have the immediate causes, not enough food and disease. But you have to ask why. That brings you to the underlying causes, things happening at the family level, like food insecurity or poor sanitation. But then you have to ask why again. And that gets you to the basic causes, the deep societal issues. Look, in the clinic, you're going to be treating that immediate cause. But to really solve the problem, we have to think bigger. We have to address the family situation and even the societal structures behind it all.
Okay, enough theory. Let's get practical. How do we actually find these kids out in the community, and what's the protocol once we do? Out in the field, your best friend is this simple little thing, the MUAC tape. It measures the mid-upper arm circumference. It's cheap, it's easy, and it lets community health workers quickly spot kids who are in trouble. If that tape shows red, less than 11.5 centimeters, or if you see that bilateral pitting edema, that's a giant red flag. That child needs to get to a health facility like yesterday.
All right, so that kid gets referred to you. And let me be clear, this is not just a skinny kid. This is a full-blown medical emergency. We call it severe acute malnutrition, or SAM.
This child's body is in a fragile metabolic shutdown. You have to handle this with extreme care, following a very precise protocol.
This 10-step protocol, you've got to know it inside and out. But here's the single most important thing to remember. Go slow. Your first instinct is going to be to pump this child full of food, right? Don't. That can actually kill them. It's called refeeding syndrome. Your job is to stabilize first. You treat low blood sugar, low body temperature, dehydration, infection. You start with a special, gentle formula called F75. Only when the child's body is stable can you switch to a high-energy food like F100 to help them catch up.
Look, managing these cases saves lives, no question. But it's like putting a Band-Aid on a much bigger wound. It's not a long-term solution. To really fix this, we need a two-pronged attack focused on prevention.
Okay, prong 1, nutrition-specific interventions. Think of these as the direct hits. We're talking about things like giving out vitamin A and iron supplements, fortifying salt with iodine, and really pushing for optimal breastfeeding and feeding practices for young kids.
But those direct hits are way more effective when you combine them with prong 2, nutrition-sensitive strategies. Remember that framework we talked about? This is where we tackle those deeper, underlying causes. We're talking about making sure people have clean water, empowering and educating women, and strengthening social safety nets. It's about creating an environment where good nutrition can actually happen.
And you know, India's been building this kind of architecture for decades. It goes way back to the huge ICDS program launched in 1975. The flagship program right now is Poshan Abhiyan. And the whole idea behind it is to tie all these different efforts together, using technology to see what's working and what's not in real time.
So what's the big takeaway here? This isn't just a job for doctors or the Ministry of Health. To really fight malnutrition, you need everyone at the table. Agriculture, education, sanitation, social welfare, everybody. It is a massive, multi-sectoral effort.
So I want to leave you with this thought. As you go forward in your careers, you're going to develop amazing clinical skills to save the one child right in front of you. That's incredible. But by understanding this whole picture, you also gain the tools to think at a public health level, to impact the lives of millions. The real magic, the real opportunity, is when you can do both. Thank you for watching.